What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you guys having a great day so far. In this video here, we have a Plarium announcement in regards to the upcoming Heroes Path. We will get a event alongside of that Heroes Path event that's going to be starting in about 20 hours here. We got the Heroes Path for Mavara's 5-star soul. We got a frame. We got a big rock and a mythical book here. And also there's going to be a bunch of Titan points in this event as well if you guys are going for Embrys's Titan event. So there's going to be a lot at stake in this Heroes Path. I do feel like this is spelt slightly wrong, right? Isn't it Heroes? I'm not too sure. It's a little bit early in the morning, so I can't really think whether this is right or wrong, but it looks kind of wrong. Let me know in the comments below if my English is awful. But without further ado, let's jump into it. We do have a progressive event that will be happening at the same time as this Heroes Path. If you guys missed it, this Heroes Path will be pulling shards and getting gear from dungeons. So it's going to be a gear hunter plus summon shard event paired into one. And this Heroes Path will be lasting for 4 days. So we do have this progressive event that's happening alongside of that. So this Thursday, April 23rd, we're planning to launch a progressive event, giving you at least 15x chance to summon the champion of your choice from the following pool of ancient, primal, sacred, and void shards. So it's going to be a pretty interesting pool here. On first look, I wasn't super impressed. We have Swarm Speaker Zyclic. That is going to be the faction unity champion for the Dark Elf. And there he is. We haven't, honestly, when this guy was released, we didn't really get too much love for this guy. I feel like this faction as a whole, I don't know, they have some good individual champions, but as a whole, I don't feel it's quite strong. I don't know. And this guy doesn't really gel them all together. But let's go over his kit here real quick. He's going to be a attack-based damage dealer, 1575 base attack with boosted crit damage. Good. Single target hit on the A1, 100% chance to steal one random buff from the target. This effect cannot be resisted or blocked. Simple, but effective, potentially. A2 on a 3-turn cooldown, single target hit, extra turn if this attack kills an enemy. If the target survives, place an extra hit on all enemies. Okay, I don't know if he actually hits hard or not, so I'm not too sure about that. His A3 on a 3-turn cooldown. You got a single target double hit. The damage inflicted by the skill increases by 10% each time an enemy receives a debuff. The damage increase resets each time this skill is used. So stackable damage boost. One faction ally. Each time an enemy is killed by this skill, permanently increase this champion's attack by 30%. Up to 120%. I mean, you know, for one faction ally, that's pretty low stakes, passively boosting his attack permanently. That's kind of nice. 2 faction allies, if the target is killed by the skill, resets the cooldown of the skill and fills this champion's turn by 50%. That's a lot. That's a pretty nice bonus for this ability. 3 faction allies has a 50% chance to attack an enemy with this skill whenever that enemy attempts to place a buff. That is very punishing. Imagine you're like placing buffs on yourself and then he goes in, kills you, resets the skill, and then gets a turn meter boost as well, and then he boosts up his own damage. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very punishing. Let's check out his passive here. It will ignore 12% of each target's defense if they have no buffs. So no buffs, 12% ignore. One faction allies receive 15% less damage from enemies that have any buffs. Allies receive 30% less damage from enemies that have no buffs. That's kind of nice. Flat damage mitigations, either 15 or 30. When this champion or ally removes or steals a buff from an enemy, this champion's next skill will deal 50% more damage. There is, you know, a good amount of buff removal in this faction, right? So this probably happens relatively consistently. 3 faction allies at the start of each round place a block, buff, debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. This buff cannot be resisted at the start of each round. Now, I don't know the actual interaction with the block buffs, whether, you know, Stone Skin's going to stop that, Mercurial is going to stop that. Probably, I would imagine. And then let's check out his aura, speed in all battles, and then accuracy for the Dark Elves. Honestly, his kit seems relatively straightforward. There's not, you know, you got more damage here, you got cooldown reduction, you got on-kill effects. And then you have a little bit of team, support here with the mitigation, damage mitigation. More damage here as well, and then placing the block buffs. Now, placing the block buffs may be potentially quite weak. Because, for example, the dwarf faction unity champion places stone skin on everybody. That's pretty strong. But this is placing block buffs on the enemy, and if they for some reason had like stone skin or mercurial, I don't think this would work. So I don't think a lot of people have this guy, and I think his general reviews are not super strong. But personally speaking, I have not play tested him myself. We do have Mavara being offered as well, which is super weird, considering we just finished her fusion. Another dark elf here, reviver and all that. I don't really like that. I think why would they offer her up? She's great. She's great. Congratulations if you guys finished her fusion. Speed and arena. I don't think she's going to be an arena champion, although she can definitely be useful there, especially with this turn meter boost for your whole team. She can take advantage of like enemies that are buff heavy, similar to like using a supersonic set. The Veil's interesting. Can protect your team. Fervor is very good for like PvE content, like longer fights where you can kind of build a team around this. This can be some nice damage boosting. But I think her best spot is going to be, you know, against long boss fights, and Hydra makes the most sense for me. I put her in a 9-piece protection set. She does land 5 buffs potentially herself. So that's quite a bit of damage coming from one champion. And personally speaking, I would probably use her over Noldula in Faction Wars. I'm gearing them both out right now, and then I'm going to try them out first together because the Faction Wars Hard 21 is pretty difficult. So I'm going to use them together, and if I get away with just using one, I think Mavara is probably going to be the one that's a little bit better because she provides way more healing. Although her revive is only single target, I think the healing stuff is going to be way more important. Let's see what else we got going on here. We have Venalicia Thrallmother also up for grabs as well. I think she is a Knight Revenant. Yes, Venalicia Thrallmother. So I think she's single target revive. No, she's revive all dead allies on a 4-turn cooldown. With a enemy lockout on a 4-turn cooldown. It's a very good revive, and if everybody is dead, it decreases the cooldown of all revive ally skills by 1 turn. There's a lot going on here, and this could be a really big swing type of revive ability. So basically, you shut out your enemy while giving yourself, you know, reduced cooldowns to do your big abilities. Now, this is not going to allow your team to like instantly go first or anything like that. So there is a little bit of negative there. They're not buffed up, so they're only 50% health. They can definitely fall apart before taking a turn. She has an A1 weaken, which is pretty decent. She has an AoE attack here with a strip, block, buff, decrease defense. Very good. Similar to similar to Ugo. But she does have a strip attached to this ability on a 3-turn cooldown. It's very nice. Passive effect, fills its champion turn meter by 20% whenever an ally dies, heals its champion by 20% of their max HP whenever they are attacked by an enemy under pain link, places a pain link for 2 turns on enemies who deal damage equal to 25% or more of an ally's max HP with a single skill. So yeah, this applies to your whole team, and that could be pretty nice. It's an interesting passive. I don't think it's particularly crazy. This turn meter fill is decent. It's kind of like a small extra boost to the mastery. What's it called? Timely intervention. You got accuracy in all battles. She does require accuracy, unfortunately. So she has weaken, decreased defense, block buffs, and then a nice revive. And she also has pain link too, so she needed accuracy for that. I think she's a decent support champion if you pick her up, especially early on. We also have Morrigane up for grabs here from the Undead Hordes. Morrigane was a past fusion many years ago. She's generally an okay speed booster. She has 19% speed in all battles. She's pretty quick, 112 base speed. 4-turn cooldown, 100% chance of decreasing the turn meter of all enemy by 20%, and then she has a turn meter fill with the increased speed. So not a bad turn meter booster. Her A2 on a 3-turn cooldown, she places she steals all buffs first, and then she places True Fear. She also places decreased accuracy as well if the target is a boss. Most bosses you can't fear, of course, so you know, placing decreased accuracy there. You know, this is a little bit weak by 2026 standards. She was released, I forgot when, like 4 years ago or something. So she got an A1 decreased speed as well. So again, good for single target bosses. But her big thing here that actually boosted up her value quite a bit was when Curse City was released. This passive here places a 100% heal reduction on the enemy with the lowest HP. So if you're fighting a single target boss, it's just going to place on that boss. And Amius, having heal reduction on Amius makes it, you know, a lot easier to deal with. And then most recently, Grim Forest. So if you have Morrigane in Grim Forest against the Cursed Chest, the heal reduction can definitely help you there as well. This passively happens, but it does require accuracy. Oh, sorry, this debuff cannot be duration increased. No, it does require accuracy to land, so. But it's basically a protected debuff, so that's really sweet. They can't cleanse it off or anything like that. So yeah, Morrigane, very decent champion. After that, we do have Helicath up for grabs. Helicath is from the Demon Spawn. He was a past fusion as well. Generally pretty good. I mean, you can use him for just general wave clearing, wave progression. He has block damage here on a 4-turn cooldown. It is a 2-turn block damage, which is very nice. He also has a second ability here on the A2. He has a big AoE hit, places a big shield as well, and his A1 does apply a weaken on a double hit, and it ignores shield and block damage. So Helicath kind of just counters Helicath. His passive ability, his defense increases for each ally under block damage. Counterattacks with the default skill whenever an ally is hit while under block damage. So it's kind of interesting. So he can protect your team, and then when they are hit while they're under the shield, he comes in with this ability that goes through shields and block damage. He could be a counter to, obviously things like Neve, for example, with the block damage. And the fact that he just counterattacks, this damage can really, really ramp up. But generally, he's a pretty good carry. He's a pretty good carry, protects your team for 2 turns. It's very annoying. Big shields here, and then he does dish out a little bit of damage if you want him to do that for you. And then that's going to round out the non-voids. As for the void champions here, let's take a look here. We got the Queen of Hearts. Queen of Hearts. Here we go, Queen of Hearts. Very solid champion, 110 base speed. She was, I believe, the winner-take-all in a champion chase during her Alice Adventures campaign. The big thing about her is her passive. Every 10 buffs the enemy team receives grants this champion extra turn. So if you're playing against a buff-heavy enemy team, she's going to get that turn. She's going to be able to cut in with the A2, strip everything off, place Death's Brand on the initial target for 2 turns, and then fear everybody. She gets a turn meter fill for each buff removed, which is nice. Or she can basically use her turn and ally attack into a champion. Ally attack is going to be pretty useful in the Mercurial meta, of course. And she has a really, really strong A1. It's an AoE decreased defense with the turn meter fill for all allies, and there's no percentage debuff chance here. It's just an AoE decreased defense. How strong is this ability? And again, very strong in the Mercurial meta to have a very good, AoE A1. So I think she's a very, very good champion. More of a kind of counter pick, niche pick, because you have to play to her strength, which is her passive. You don't necessarily need to build her super fast because she's going to get that turn right away if you pick the right matchup for her. And then she can be very strong. She does need accuracy to land the fears and Death Brand, but she can be very threatening. Because she can strip all your stuff as well. Perhaps the biggest thing about her, maybe if she had a speed aura, that would have made her maybe a little bit better. Similar to like Odin, right? She's kind of similar to Odin, but Odin's a little bit better. Odin's a little bit better. Let's see what's next. Next for the Void Champions, we have Siphi, the Lost Bride from the Undead Hordes. So Siphi, I have Siphi myself, 114 base speed, very fast. We got the boosting effect here on a 4-turn cooldown. Block debuffs, increase defense, increase speed with a small turn meter boost for all allies on a 4-turn cooldown. I was complaining about this ability. I think it's a little bit outdated now. It was nerfed to 4 turns at some point. Initially, it was 3 turns, and I think they should have probably left it at that. But I think at the time it was probably too strong. Nowadays, 4-turn cooldown for this ability I think is a little bit weak. A1 sleep, still very strong, still very annoying in some instances. Less strong if you're playing against wand heavy teams, because that's basically 50% or 45% to sleep yourself, which is very, very annoying. Single target revive on a 4-turn cooldown. You get a bunch of nice buffs here with full turn meter, which is very important. It is a 4-turn cooldown, so it's not going to be the best. But for a single target revive, very, very strong. Passive effect here, heals everybody by 10% of their max HP at the start of their turn. Also has a 50% chance of removing freeze fear, true fear from each ally at the start of the turn. I always forget about this, but yeah, it's there. And then she removes all debuffs from Rotos the Lost Goom at the start of their turn if they're on the same team. So her with Rotos makes Rotos very hard to control. But unfortunately, Rotos right now, I would say it's pretty fallen off in terms of the arena scene. Siphi, Siphi's kind of still okay-ish, but for the most part, Siphi probably runs in some kind of protection gear so that her buffs don't get stripped off. I find less people using like supersonic sets nowadays because they're all running Mercurial. And as a general support champion, she still can perform pretty okay. So Siphi's still pretty good, and especially if you draw her early, she's going to be a huge help in any kind of progression that you guys are going through. And lastly, for the Void Champions here, we have Wight King Narses from the Night Revs. I don't have Wight King Narses, but this guy was a guaranteed champion for 110 Void Shards a couple Valentine's days ago. I think 3 Valentine's Day ago. And the one of the biggest regrets I have in Raid Shadow Legends was not having enough Void Shards for this champion when he was offered as a guarantee. He was an absolute meta changer alongside the partner with Ancora. At that time, it was all Terras Marichka defenses, especially for Platinum Arena. But Wight King Narses plus Ancora was just an insane powerhouse to break through that defense. He's got an A1 here, 50% chance of randomly increasing the cooldown of one of the target skills by 2 turns. This effect cannot be resisted if Wight Queen Ancora is on the same team. He's got a big AoE here on a 3-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies, ignore 25% of the target's defense. Place an extra hit if they're under shield or strengthened. So you can actually bring him out against shield-heavy teams. And then he's going to be pumping big damage here. The damage inflicted by the skill cannot be decreased by enemy passives or masteries. So something like Taras's passive that basically reduces damage by 50%. Wight King ignores that, which is very strong. So then the extra damage would be huge. I mean, this ability, the fact that it gets a double hit against shield and strengthen, basically put Necrit on the shelf for a little while when this guy came onto the scene. Necrit was everywhere as well. He has a single target hit on the 4-turn cooldown on his A3. Double hit increases the damage inflicted by this skill by 10% for each buff on the target, up to 50%. An additional 10% for each buff on this champion. So he could have 100% damage boost, depending on how many buffs are on himself and on the target. Again, to counter things like Necrit. If this attack kills the target under 3 or more buffs, place a block revive. Also grants an extra turn if this attack kills an enemy when Wight Queen Ancora is on the same team. And then going on to his passive here, this champion receives 50% less damage when attacked by enemies, including bosses and their minions, out of their active turn. So things like ally attack, counter attack is going to do less damage to him. If Ancora is on the same team, this champion will receive no damage when they are attacked out of their active turns. And then this champion's skills will also ignore shield and strengthen. So he is a bit of a counter here for these types of teams, shield and strengthen. And he was a huge counter to Necrit and Marichka Taras type teams, because obviously these are 2 abilities that both of them cast at that time. So he was a huge meta changer at that time. Right now, I mean, he's just kind of just hits hard. He does have built-in 25% ignore defense. He does hit hard for HP based damage dealer, and with Ancora he does perform quite well. There's just more options now, and he's not so crazy that you can just ignore other options. So I would say if you have them, you still use them, but there's probably definitely more options now. Personally speaking, I do have him from the guaranteed event on my alt account. I still use him with Ancora. He's particularly good for offense. For offense, he's quite strong because you can cherry pick the shield and strengthen type teams. A lot of people are running Magma Shield nowadays as well, so you can most likely get the double hits through. But yeah, more of a niche attacker nowadays instead of just a general like sweeper. And then we do have a couple epics here. None of them are really worth anything. I mean, they're all good in their own right. Dune Priest, Husk, Whisper, Madame Cirrus. I would say Annex is probably the worst, but they're all good in their own right, but nothing too crazy to write home about, to be honest. Since we're most likely going to be participating in this Hero's Path, so this progressive will affect more people, especially if you're going for the Titan event or Mavara Soul. Like I said, it's probably going to affect a lot of different people. In terms of the non-voids, I think for myself personally, I do have Mavara. If you don't have Mavara, you probably want Mavara. For me personally, maybe I would go for Swarm Speaker, just because he is the faction unity champion, or Venalicia. Venalicia, I think, is decent, but she kind of blends into the background for Night Revs. I feel like her kit definitely, seems very familiar. But at the same time, like if you're using somebody like Ugo in Hydra, she's a huge upgrade over somebody like Ugo. So she could be helpful for you there. It really depends on the progress of your account. For obviously end game accounts, she's not going to be super helpful. Night Revs has plenty of survivability and stuff like that. So Faction Wars is not particularly difficult. So Venalicia might not be too helpful for you there. But if you guys are still using like Ugo and stuff in like Hydra teams, so Thrallmother could be useful there. But I think personally speaking, I think we're gonna go for a Swarm Speaker just because he is more of an exclusive champion. He doesn't get offered very often. Although I don't think he's great. That's probably what I would go for. And if you guys are insistent on pulling Void Shards, then the Queen of Hearts would be very interesting. I do, personally have Siphi myself, so I wouldn't go for Siphi myself. But I think the Queen of Hearts, you probably get a lot of use of out of her in a lot of different areas where Siphi, maybe you're not going to use her as frequently. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on this. There you go. We got the progressive event announcement here that's going to be attached to the Hero's Path and the Titan event and all that stuff. You guys are up to date on that. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this progressive event. Which champion makes the most sense to you guys? Are you guys going to be pulling shards or spending energy for this event? That's going to be a big one as well. And I'd be interested if anybody has Swarm Speaker. Let me know in the comments below how you guys use this champion. Does this champion perform well? Let me know in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Appreciate you all. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.